NFL offseason is in full effect. We have finished the draft. We have also finished free agency for the most part. So in today's video, I want to do my post-draft updated way too early power rankings for the 2025-2026 season. Subscribe if you're new. Let's hop into it. So we're going to be going through every single team from 32 all the way to 1. We're going to be doing it in chunks of 32 all the way up to 17, then 16 to 1. Also, these are not my final rankings. These are subject to change as we get closer to the season, as we get through the preseason. These will definitely end up changing. With that said, at number 32, I have the Cleveland Browns. This is one of the teams where I feel like their defense is really solid. They have a lot of really good pieces, but I just don't know what to expect from this quarterback room. Right now, there's a bunch of bodies, but we don't know who the guaranteed starter is. Will it be Shador? Will it be Dylan Gabriel? Will it be Joe Flacco? We just do not know. But truth be told, no matter who the quarterback is, I'm just not terribly confident in really any of the quarterbacks, despite them having literally 4 different options. Because I look at this team, the receiving core isn't that strong outside of Jerry Jeudy and David Njoku. The running back room is improved, but it's still a little bit unproven, and the offensive line is still really bad. With that said, the coaching staff is good, so they'll still be a competitive team. It's just that I just don't know what I'm getting from the quarterbacks. At number 31, I have the New Orleans Saints. A lot of the same things I said about the Browns also do apply to the Saints. I just don't know what I'm getting from my quarterbacks. We don't know if Derek Carr will be starting, will it be Spencer Rattler, or will it end up being Tyler Shock? Truth be told, I think the best of them is, of course, Derek Carr, but if it is Spencer Rattler who starts, then I don't feel great in him, nor do I feel great about Tyler Shock. Tyler Shock, to me, was not worthy of a second-round pick, and I just, truth be told, am extremely worried about his health. With that said, there's enough good pieces here for this team to still be competitive, so I think they will be a decent team, but I just don't think they're going to be really all that good next year. At number 30 is the Tennessee Titans. This one all kind of comes down to the play of Cam Ward. If Cam Ward is fantastic, then this team will be a very competitive team. But this team outside of Cam Ward just is a really incomplete roster. There's some good pieces here and there. There's definitely a carcass of a team that can be good in the future. It's just right now, I don't know what I'm getting from the quarterback room, nor do I really know what I'm getting out of this roster. I believe in Cam Ward, though, hence why I have them above the Saints and the Browns. At number 29 is the New York Giants. Yet again, another team with some quarterback questions. This time, this team, in my opinion, has, maybe of the 4 teams I've talked about so far, the most proven and most certain quarterback room. Like, I know what I'm getting from Russell Wilson. I know what I'm getting from Jameis Winston. Jackson Dart is a bit of a wild card that might give this team a bit of an edge over a team like the Saints and the Browns. With that said, I just know what I'm getting from Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston, which is just 2 okay quarterbacks that aren't going to be terrible, but also will not make this team all that good. So because that is why they're in front of them, I also just think the Giants roster in general is just really solid and has a lot of really good pieces. It all just comes down to how good is the quarterback. At number 28 is the New England Patriots. I know I just made a video about them where I spoke very optimistically about this team and what their future looks like. For me, there's just a lot of unprovenness with this roster. There's a lot of unknown to it. So that's why I have them down at 28. I do believe this roster has the potential to be significantly better than where I have them at 28. It's just I have to see it on the field. I have to see it in preseason and so on and so forth, because right now I just don't know what I'm getting from this team quite yet. With that said, I 100% believe in this defense. There's a lot of provenness on that side of the ball. Maybe not to say a proven pass rusher outside of like Milton Williams, but outside of that, like offensively, it's just a unit that I just don't know what I'm getting out of quite yet, because Kyle Williams hasn't played a snap. Will Campbell hasn't played a snap. You have a lot of new pieces, so I'm intrigued to see how this team performs early on, but I definitely do think they will outplay this 28th ranking. Number 27, I have the Jacksonville Jaguars. I really wanted to put them higher than this, but it's still a roster that needs another year of development. With Trevor Lawrence leading the way with Liam Cohen, now you're bringing in Travis Hunter, who I think is a freak of all freaks. I do think this team will be better than what they were last year. It just kind of comes down to, can they actually put it on the field? For the most part, I think every single one of these teams that I've talked about so far have a chance to be good. I just don't know quite yet what I'm getting from them, and that's kind of the same thing with the Jacksonville Jaguars. I have to see it on the field, especially a guy like Travis Hunter. Can he end up translating his college game to the NFL? And in totality, while I thought they had a great draft, you still want to see those guys actually make impacts in their rookie season. Moving over to number 26, kind of the moral of the story for a lot of these teams is the Carolina Panthers, another team that I just have to see it on the field again. I saw what Bryce Young looked like last year towards the back end, but I want to see if he's able to do that for an entire 17-game season. I also want to see the improvements from this defense with some of the younger pieces and free agent pieces. I want to see that all on the field, because right now it's really hard to project what that defense will be. Offensively speaking, if Bryce Young is what we saw late into last year, then I feel really good about this offense. It all just kind of comes down to, can the defense pick up the slack, and can all these new pieces mesh well early on to keep this team afloat? And before I get into the rest of my list, I did just want to say I've already done a power rankings podcast with my friend Cade on the First and 10 podcast. So if you guys want to check that out, it'll be in the link in the description below. Over there, we make long form content very similar to this. So if you guys enjoy this type of content and you want to hear it for longer, just check it out. It's a great watch. With that said, at number 25 is the Indianapolis Colts. This one 100% just comes down to Anthony Richardson. Now, I have been very vocal and very open about my optimism regarding Anthony Richardson. When he came out in the draft, I absolutely loved the landing spot for him. And even heading into last year's season, I was very hopeful and optimistic, I guess, in the Indianapolis Colts because of Anthony Richardson. However, so far through his career, he just hasn't been able to stay healthy. And when he has been healthy, it's just not been as good as what you might have thought it was going to be. So heading into this 2025 season, it all just kind of relies on him. I've also heard very good reviews and a lot of raving promises regarding Daniel Jones. So if Daniel Jones is able to step into the starting role, we'll have to wait and see on that one. But regardless, I'm going to assume that Anthony wins the job. If Anthony does win the job, then I'm hopeful that he can take a nice step forward now in what should be his third year. This is a guy who just hasn't played a lot of football, so I think we need to give him time. But this Colts team is trying to win now. It's a really good team. They've made some awesome free agent additions, so I'm hopeful with this Colts team. It all just kind of comes down to what ends up happening with Anthony Richardson. Moving to 24 is the Miami Dolphins. This is a team that is just getting worse and worse and worse every single year. If they do get rid of Jalen Ramsey, then, man, this team is just not going to be very good next year. With that said, I still have them above all these other teams, just simply put, because I've seen their offense on the field. I know when healthy, Tua, Tyreek, Jalen Waddle, those great running backs, like they can legitimately score 40, 50 points a game just at will. It all just kind of comes down to what does the offensive line look like? What does the defense look like? Do they take steps forward in certain departments? Is this a better team from last year? Like all those questions have to be answered, hence why they're down at 24. But if Tua and Tyreek and all those guys can stay healthy, I know what I'm getting from this offense, which is a bunch of points, which is all that matters at the NFL level. Moving to 23 are the New York Jets. Quietly, they're kind of going through a little bit of a retooling phase and almost in a way a mini rebuild in some parts. This is not a team that has been kind of quiet ever since Rodgers has left the team. You brought in Aaron Glenn. Things have been really quiet surrounding this Jets team. And frankly, I kind of think it was best case for them. They needed to kind of lay low for a year or two. And that's kind of what they're doing now with Justin Fields. Ultimately, for this Jets team, I still have to believe in the defense. I still have to believe in the star power. Obviously, Justin Fields is a bit of an unknown, but we also have seen enough from him to know that he's not a great quarterback, but he's also somebody that can get you a couple wins just off pure athleticism and just pure arm talent. So because I believe in this Jets head coaching staff with Aaron Glenn now, obviously I believe in the defense and there's some pieces offensively to get the job done. Obviously, I want to see the quarterback play well, but ultimately, I just think this team is heading in the right direction, which is good, although we've kind of been saying that about this Jets team for like the past 5 years, but I do think they're making the right moves with the right coaching staff, so take that as you will. 22, Seattle Seahawks. This is yet again another one of those teams and they've made some massive moves this offseason, just completely changing the direction of this team. New quarterback, new receiving core, a lot of new pieces on the defense and on the offense, and just it's a brand new team in a lot of ways. With that said, kind of the moral of the story so far, I need to see it on the field. Right now, I can project and predict what it's going to look like, but it's just really difficult until I actually see a couple snaps and then kind of get an idea of what this team looks like. I think this defense next year is going to be sweet. I love some of the moves they made this offseason. Bringing in Nicky Monwari should be a fun pickup. Though I'm not the highest on him, I do see how he'll be utilized. And offensively speaking, if this team could just be competent on the offensive line, Gray Zabel was a great pickup, by the way. Sam Darnold, if he looks like how he did last year, if JSN and Cooper Kupp could stay healthy and look solid, then this team will be good. It's just, like I mentioned, I have to see it on the field before I can move them up in my power rankings because it's kind of hard to predict what they're going to look like right now. Speaking of hard to predict, at number 21, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Who's going to play quarterback for them? Is it going to be Mason Rudolph? Is it going to be Will Howard? Or will it be Aaron Rodgers? It feels like every other day I'm getting reports about Rodgers is close to signing, or Rodgers is taking his time, or Rodgers might retire. And it's like, I just don't know who's going to play quarterback for this team. Regardless of that, no matter who plays quarterback for this team, I know this defense is going to be great. I know they have enough talent offensively to be a pretty good unit. Just kind of comes down to who's going to play quarterback. With Mike Tomlin leading the way, this team will win 9, 10, maybe 11 games next year. It just kind of depends on can a quarterback make them a better team and get them deep into the playoffs. Truth be told, if I was the Pittsburgh Steelers, and this is maybe a hot take, I wouldn't pick up Aaron Rodgers. That's just my opinion. I would rock a year with, honestly, Will Howard. See if he could work out. If it doesn't work out, cool. We'll go into next year, take a top 5 pick or trade up for a top 5 pick and draft a quarterback then. Just because you're not going anywhere with Aaron Rodgers, like, yeah, he's a better quarterback than what you've had, but they're not going to win the AFC with Rodgers at this point in his career. That's a side note. Maybe we'll do a video on that some other day. Moving to number 20, I have the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, this is one of those teams that has made a ton of moves and the direction of this team has completely changed, but I have a lot of faith in them. So even though I haven't seen it on the field, I've seen enough from Geno Smith within Pete Carroll's system to kind of know what to expect with this team. Offensively, I feel like they're still solid. They're still missing a lot of pieces, mainly a true cornerback one. But I believe in the front seven. You obviously Max Crosby, Christian Wilkins, all those guys on that defensive line. And now you bring in Ash and Genty on the offense, Geno Smith, you still have Brock Bowers. Obviously, you still have that receiving core, but now you added Jack Besh. And offensive line, I still feel like it's pretty solid. So for the most part, with this Raiders team, I thought they had a solid draft. I also like their coaching staff. So I just feel a bit more confident with this Raiders team than some of those other teams. So I kind of know how to predict this team because I already have kind of seen it within Seattle. Add on to that a really dominant ground game with Ashton freaking Genty. And Brock Bowers is the best tight end that Pete Carroll's ever had. At least maybe I can say that. I don't know if that's true or not. I can't think too far back, but just in general. I mean, this is a Raiders team that's really talented. So I think they'll take a nice step forward. They'll be in playoff contention, but we'll have to kind of wait and see if this offense can pick up some of the slack and if the defense is good enough to get this team actually into a playoff spot. Moving over 19 to San Francisco 49ers. This one all just comes down to the star power of San Francisco. There's way too many stars on this team to not be an okay team, kind of like what they were last year with Kittle, with Kyle Shanahan, with Brock, with hopefully a healthy Christian McCaffrey, with Brandon Ayuk, who's hopefully healthy. And then, of course, Trent Williams, Fred Warner, all these guys, Nick Bosa. Like, there's so many stars on this team. It just kind of comes down to what is the other guys going to look like? Like, what does some of your new defensive pieces who have to step up and make big plays? Also, Malik Mustafa, I believe, tore his ACL, which definitely does suck. But pieces around those guys, what do they look like? I think they're going to be good against the run, but how do they look against the pass? Can this offense be as highly potent as it used to be? Also, what's going to happen with Brock Purdy's contract? That's kind of why I'm kind of hesitant to put them within my top 16. I look at the star power and say, damn, that's a lot of star power. That's the same star power that took them to a Super Bowl. It just kind of comes down to what do the other guys look like? What do the supporting cast around those stars look like? And frankly, there's a lot of unknown, also just not a lot of good. So that's why I have them at 19. Moving over to 18 is the Atlanta Falcons. I really want to believe in this team, like really badly. It's just I have a really difficult time buying into it this year. Maybe next year I can buy fully into it. Right now, there's just a lot of question marks with this team that still have to be answered. Such as, what does Michael Penix Jr. look like as a full-time starter? Do they have enough weapons on the outside? Which is kind of crazy to say because they've invested so much in there. But outside of Drake London, like, who's a legit other threat that can consistently get open? Like, yes, Darnell Mooney had some moments, but can you rely on him for a 17-game season? I don't know. Of course, you have some great running backs. Your offensive line is still pretty solid. Defensively, you've made some key additions in Walker and James Pierce Jr., but can those guys be high-impact players from the get-go? I don't know. You're also hoping that some of the guys you drafted at last year's draft can continue to develop to become more impactful players this upcoming season. So I want to believe this team because there's a lot of talent. I also just like Raheem Morris, and I do think Michael Penix Jr. will be a stud, but I got to see it on the field. So I can't move them any higher up the list. It's just I believe more so in this Falcons team than a lot of other teams to reach their ceiling. Plus, this team has been kind of like a solid team. Not a great team. They've won like 8 or 9 games. So if they could just take that next step, they'll be a 10+ win season. So at least I think we'll have to wait and see. And all right, we get towards the halfway point at 17, the Chicago Bears. This is one of those teams where I want to believe in this team so badly, but year after year after year, I've been burned by this Bears team. And I think basically everyone has, because we always buy into what they're building, what they've done, how they've built the roster around a certain player. And this year, man, they just kind of finished up this roster. It's a really good roster with an excellent coaching staff. It's just we haven't seen it play out yet. We don't know what this team will actually look like when they hit the field. We think they're going to be good because they have a really good roster, but we don't know they're going to be good. We have to wait and see it on the field. So even though I want to predict this Bears team to be a 12-win team that makes the playoffs, I haven't seen anything quite yet on the field to prove that's actually going to happen. I think a couple series into the preseason, maybe that week 1 game, then we can start talking about the Bears climbing up the ladder. But until we see it, we have to be a bit pessimistic regarding this team. But now we enter into our top 16. Really quickly, just wanted to remind you guys again that I do have the podcast. We've already made this video a few days ago, so if you guys want to hear more explanation, make sure you check out the video. We go into a lot more detail. Plus, you can hear my friend Cade's list, which is a lot different than mine. But moving on to number 16 is the Cincinnati Bengals. This is one of those teams where it's kind of crazy they're this high, because they're only on this list because of like 3-4 players, and that's Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and like Trey Hendrickson. Outside of that, there's a lot of problems with this team. This offensive line still is not very good. You do trust Chase Brown at running back at this stage, but does the offensive line create enough holes for them? I also look at this defense and say, man, there's a lot of issues with this defense. The cornerback group is not spectacular. Defensive line has a lot of question marks, like what are we getting from Shamar Stewart? And yeah, there's just a lot of questions with this team. But man, when you have that dude Joe Burrow, when you have that dude Jamar Chase, when you have that guy T. Higgins and Trey Hendrickson, which I'm hearing some good things with Trey Hendrickson in Cincinnati, so fingers crossed, Bengals fans. But as long as you have those guys, you'll be a good team. It just kind of comes down to, can they be a great team with some of the other guys stepping up? 15, the Dallas Cowboys. In a lot of ways, the Cowboys and Bengals are quite similar, where the Dallas Cowboys are such a top-heavy team with some really good players. CeeDee Lamb, I think Dak Prescott's a great quarterback. Micah Parsons, Trevon Diggs, so on and so forth. It all just kind of comes down to, what does the supporting cast for Dallas look like? And frankly, I think the Dallas Cowboys supporting cast is, I think it's better this year than what it was last year. Emphasis on I think, because I don't know if they really brought in like a great group of, supporting cast players in the offseason, but I think they did enough. Frankly, I look at this team and you're banking on the offensive line getting better, because obviously you brought in Tyler Booker, Guyton developing, Tyler Smith's a stud, so on and so forth. I've heard the Dallas Cowboys are still interested on bringing in a new wide receiver too. They've talked to Amari Cooper. We'll have to wait and see. At least on paper, the running back group looks better. It's still a bit of a question mark because you just don't know what you're getting from Javonte or Miles or even some of the rookies like Phil Maffa or Jaden Blue. I think it's a better unit with more options now, which is good. Whereas last year, it was kind of just Rico Dowell and Ezekiel Elliott. And Rico actually looked pretty good. I kind of thought Dallas should re-sign him. But defensively speaking, you bring in Donovan Ezeraku, Savon Ravel steps in, and you brought in some linebackers this offseason. So defensively, I expect them to be better. Plus, I just like Matt Eberflus as a defensive coordinator. So that's kind of why I have Dallas at 15. I think they got better from last year. I still believe in their superstars. And frankly, if Dallas was not so banged up last year, they probably would have been like a top 16 team. So if we assume they stay healthy, I think they'll be in that conversation too. 14, I have the Minnesota Vikings. This one, just for full transparency, 1000% honesty, is just because I don't know what I'm getting from JJ McCarthy. The rest of the roster is really good. They have one of the better offensive lines that's now fully complete with Donovan Jackson. You have Jettas, you have Addison, you have Aaron Jones. You also brought in Jordan Mason, which I love the move. And then defensively, there's a lot of good pieces. Though I'm a little suspect of the secondary, but I believe in their defensive coordinator to kind of cover their issues. It just comes down to JJ McCarthy. If McCarthy is good, this is a clear top-end, top 10 team. But if JJ McCarthy is a little bit weak or, still developing, then that's kind of why I had them at 14. Moving to 13 is the Houston Texans. Man, this Texans team, and maybe it's a little too early to say this, but I kind of feel like, and Texans fans are going to be mad at me for when I say this, but I kind of feel like they're fumbling CJ Stroud's rookie contract, because this team is not good enough to win a championship. And that was the first goal. When we saw how good CJ was in his rookie season, heading into year 2 and year 3, we expected this team to be contending for championships. But I don't think this Texans team, frankly, is too close to competing for a championship this year. Will they make the playoffs? Probably. It's not the strongest division in the world, so they'll be in the playoffs. They'll have a shot at it. And with CJ Stroud, who I still think is a great quarterback, I don't care what happened last year, then, they'll be a good team. They'll be a great team, in fact. And this offensive line is very suspect. And I say that not just because, I'm following a trend. It's just kind of the truth of the matter. You brought in a bunch of guys to be temporary solutions for the spot. Some veterans who have shown glimpses of being good, and, some guys who you just kind of know what you're getting from at this point. But I look at this offensive line and say, man, that's just not a very good old line yet. Like, it's very older. It's not a very young unit. You're also just banking that Ursary could step in there and make some snaps and play well. But a lot of question marks with this offensive line that I, frankly, am just a little concerned with. Plus, you're also relying on Higgins and Knoll and those guys from Iowa State to step in and make big plays, which I think they will. I loved Higgins a lot coming out of college, and defensively, they'll be good. So it'll be a good team. I just think, kind of like last year, this offensive line might be the reason why this team just kind of struggles to take that next step, which is kind of crazy because we've been saying that since Stroud's rookie season. Number 12, probably the biggest riser for me, the Arizona Cardinals. I am going to be the guy that holds the Cardinals flag for the entire season. I, truth be told, believe the Cardinals will be a team that can make the playoffs next year. And this is not me saying that because I'm a Cardinals fan, because I'm actually not. I'm not even actually, I don't even live in Arizona. I've never been a Cardinals fan. I just look at this roster and say, man, their biggest issues last year defensively was their defensive line. They could not get pressure on a quarterback. They couldn't really stuff the run. They have some good pieces in the secondary to make plays, but the front seven was really holding them back. This year, they unbelievably just solved that problem. Plus, also getting healthy in the edge rushing room also does help. But bringing in Josh Sweat, bringing in Calais Campbell, Dalvin Tomlinson, and then, of course, Walter Nolan, adding some pieces on the offense as well. Like, this is a team that I believe in so much. Like, Kyler Murray, I have been saying this for a while. I think it's a super underrated quarterback that has just never had a good roster around him. I think this team is really solid with a lot of really good pieces. If Kyler and Marvin Harrison can just get that combination really going in the right direction, then this team should be really good next year. Like, really, really good. Not a championship contender, but a playoff contender. I do have some questions with the offensive line. That's still kind of a bit of a question mark, but Kyler Murray could just make so many plays for this team, and I expect this defense to take a big step forward. So I'm going to hold the flag for the Cardinals and say they're a top 15 team. That I would not be shocked if at some point this year they crack my top 10. That's just my hot take. Number 11 is the Denver Broncos. This is one of those teams that I need to see them take that next step. I felt like last year they showed glimpses of being a really good team, but went up against better competition. I wanted to see them play a little bit better, and that's kind of why I struggle to put them inside my top 10. I saw so many good plays and good moments from them, but I want to see them do it against legitimately great competition. And right now, everyone in the top 10, if you were to ask me, can the Broncos beat this team in week 5 of the NFL season? Frankly, I think a lot of them I would say no, but probably close game or just straight up no. So until I see this team actually go in there and go up against a great team and beat them up or something along those lines, I'll keep them outside my top 10 because of that. But man, Sean Payton is a great offensive mind. Bo Nix showed a lot of great glimpses his rookie season. Frankly, I thought their draft was pretty darn stellar, especially with the first round pick. I freaking love Jahdae Barron. Rest of it was a little bit early for me, but I didn't hate the RJ Harvey pick or some of the other ones they made. But Jahdae Barron pick, like the Broncos may very well end up having the best defense. For me, it just honestly comes down to what does Bo Nix look like against great competition, and can this offense take the steps necessary? But yeah, in totality, the Broncos will be awesome. They'll have a great defense. We'll just have to wait and see what they look like against good competition. Number 10, the Green Bay Packers. They're one of these teams that I want them to take the next step, but I just have a hard time envisioning it right now because of just a couple issues with the roster. If we assume this Packers team can stay healthy, then I think they'll be a good team, but I still have a lot of question marks with their cornerback group. Yes, you still have Jair Alexander, but there's a lot of question marks there. Number one, can he just stay healthy? Then offensively speaking, I think you're relying quite heavily on Matthew Golden being a true go-to guy early on, which I think he can do, but we'll just have to wait and see. For me, it kind of comes down to Jordan Love as well. Like, if Jordan Love is playing well, if this offensive line can protect him, if he can find a guy who he just trusts, then I think this team can take a step forward. Like, this was a team that made a deep playoff run just a couple years ago. So I think this team has a shot to do it. I just need to see what this receiving core looks like, and as well as the secondary. But until then, I'll keep them in my top 10, but they're just like right there in my top 10. I could have also considered the Broncos in front of them as well. Maybe you could say those two teams were interchangeable. Number 9, the LA Chargers. I like what they did this offseason, continuing the trend of just getting physical and nasty and dirty players. The offensive line to me looks really solid on paper. Mekhi Becton steps in there. It's big, massive, can play guard for this team and just be an absolute stud. You also get Amari Hampton, which initially speaking, I didn't love the pick, but the more I've sat on it, the more I have enjoyed the pick because he is like a complete horrible running back. Pair that with Najee Harris, pair that with year 2 Ladd McConkey, pair that with all the other moves they've made. Chargers team should be better next year. I just want to see what this defense looks like, especially with some of the issues they might have on the defensive line. So we'll keep an eye on it, but for now, I feel okay with putting them in my top 10. Number 8 is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This is just another one of those teams with a really solid roster. I mean, they are really unbelievably solid. They're well put together. They've had another good offseason with another good draft. Like, this is a team that just consistently gets the job done. And if Benjamin Morrison can just stay healthy this upcoming season and kind of turn back the clock to 2023, then they got themselves a true, legit shutdown corner. It's just hard for me really to move them anywhere up from 8 because I just haven't seen them be able to take that next step to seriously be competitive against these upper echelon rosters. Moving to number 7 is the Washington Commanders. This one just kind of comes down to, I don't like their edge rushing group. I just don't know how they're going to be able to consistently get quarterback pressure without relying on the interior guys or without relying on some blitzes or unique looks. So maybe they'll be looking for an edge rusher during the trade deadline. I don't know, just kind of throwing that out there. I kind of was hoping they'd be more aggressive this offseason and pursuing one of Myles Garrett or Trey Hendrickson or somebody in free agency, but they really haven't been too aggressive. And they also lost the guy who got them, I think, 10 sacks last year, and Dante Fowler, which that definitely sucks. But in totality, getting the Trey Amos pick was nice. Josh Connolly, I think, will shore up the offensive line. I didn't love the pick because I just don't know what his role is quite yet. But if we assume that Josh Connolly steps in there, okay, cool. We'll see how that goes. Obviously, Jaden Daniels is kind of going to be the guy that has to, you know, I don't want to say carry this team, but push this team up into the upper echelon that they want to get to. They made it to the NFC Championship game last year, mainly because of Jaden Daniels. Can he do it again this year, or will he have a bit of a sophomore slump? That's kind of still to be determined. I personally am a big believer in Jaden, but if you told me that he takes a bit of a step back from his rookie year, I wouldn't be too shocked about it because CJ Stroud did it. A lot of other great quarterbacks have done it. Of course, I'm not predicting him to have a slump, but it's definitely possible. We'll just have to kind of wait and see. I want to believe in this team a lot more than I have them in my ranking. Like, I think they could be a top 5 team. I just kind of have to see it, especially on the defensive side, for another year. Plus, I want to see what Jaden Daniels looks like after defenses have had time to adjust to his game. Number 6, the LA Rams. This team was the closest team the entire postseason of actually beating the Philadelphia Eagles. And the add-in Devontae Adams. I think this team should take a nice step forward next year. Like, this is a really good roster. It's really complete. Still think defensively I'm missing like one true lockdown corner. Maybe Jalen Ramsey gets on this roster. Just saying. I've been kind of beating that drum for a couple weeks now of Jalen Ramsey to LA again, but we'll have to wait and see. In totality, I think this offense just got much better with Devontae Adams. The offensive line is still very solid. I just believe in this roster, not to mention Terrence Ferguson, too. I actually really like that pickup. And defensively, you're expecting guys like Verse and Frisk to just continue to get better. So it's going to be a good team next year, and they're going to be extremely competitive. And even though I don't think they'll be like a 14-win regular season team, I think all they have to do is just get their way into the playoffs, and they can compete with literally anybody. Number 5, the Baltimore Ravens. If Mike Green can get everything kind of cleared up, then they had a home run hit of Malachi Starks and Mike Green, because that just kind of fixes two, I don't want to say issues, but two potential holes of another pass rusher and a versatile safety that can move Kyle Hamilton around. Also, not to mention Malachi Starks can also move around. But man, when you have Lamar Jackson, when you have Derrick Henry, when you have all those guys in this offense and defense, you're going to be a competitive team. For me, the only reason why I don't have them up a little bit higher is because the Bills have beat the Ravens, the Chiefs have beat the Ravens, and I just kind of believe in some of the other teams up the board. For the Buffalo Bills, and frankly, all 5 of these top 5 teams, you could talk me into moving them around. I'm not set in stone with this top 5. It's just kind of how it ended up happening. 4 is the Buffalo Bills, though. They're the team that beat the Baltimore Ravens, so I have to kind of give them that competitive edge, especially when they haven't really made too many drastic changes on both sides. I will say you brought in Landon Jackson, which I really like that pickup. I think he can be just a run-stuffing edge rusher, which this team kind of does need. And then Maxwell Hairston, while I didn't love the pick, I do like the fit. We'll just kind of have to wait and see if it ends up working out for Buffalo. And then at number 3 is the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs have beaten the Bills. The Chiefs have consistently beaten the Ravens. So hence why I have the Chiefs at 3. Now, admittedly speaking, I don't know if this Chiefs team is as good as they have been in the past, but I still feel like it's a really good team with a lot of really good pieces. And as long as you have Mahomes, as long as you have Andy Reid, you're always going to have a chance when it comes to the fourth quarter. This is a team that a lot of people are a little bit lower on than I am, which I don't quite understand because this team is just really good. Yes, they've lost some pieces, but they've been able to retool. And while I don't expect this team to be just unstoppable in the regular season, kind of like how they've been at times last year and in previous years, I do think when it comes down to it, though, fourth quarter, the Chiefs need a point. They're probably going to score a point, which is all that matters at the end of the day. Plus, Rashee Rice offensively should be coming back and healthy next year, which I thought was one of the biggest losses for the Chiefs last year that really would have opened up this offense. And he was just a go-to guy. So we'll have to wait and see. Obviously, Kelsey's not the same guy that he used to be. We'll see if he can kind of turn back the clock for one more year. 2 is the Detroit Lions, one of the more complete rosters in the NFL. Just another solid draft of just getting their guys who they believe in, and you just kind of have to understand that you may not like the draft, just like we may not have liked the Jahmyr Gibbs pick a few years ago, but end of the day, end of the story here, they know what style they want to get. They want to get physical, they want to get maulers, and I just kind of have to buy into it. This is just a really good roster from top to bottom. Hopefully Terrion Arnold could take a step forward this upcoming season to become more of that true lockdown CB1, CB2 type guy. And obviously, you're hoping that the new coordinators step in and make enough plays. That is a bit of a concern for me in terms of what do the coordinators look like, but I'm still kind of willing to buy into this team completely just because of how stacked the roster is. And this team, my personal stance on it is I think they would have made the NFC Championship game and potentially made a run at Philly if they were a healthy roster. Just kind of was a shame they weren't healthy. But number one, Philadelphia Eagles, your Super Bowl champions. They bring in Jahad Campbell. They bring in Makuba. Those are two impactful starters on the defensive side of things. Not a lot of differences on the offense. Yes, you lose Mekhi Becton, but you got some pieces to cover those guys, and you had another stellar draft. Not an aggressive free agency, but they did enough around the edges to just be a team that I still think is the favorites to win a championship next year. We just kind of have to wait and see what they look like. Of course, without Kellen Moore and without some of the pieces they lost, and I believe in what they've done. The draft was stellar. They've just done a really solid job of building up talent and developing pieces and then allowing them to flourish when they get their job. But you guys let me know in the comment section below, what do you think about my personal top 32 power rankings? Again, these are subject to change, so I'll probably do an updated one right before the season after a couple preseason games. And if you enjoyed, hit the like and subscribe button. Love you guys. Peace.